Do you like cats?
I adore cats.
Okay. Just checking.
Yes.
You have cats?
Of course,
Yeah.
yes. I have Turkish swimming cats, Turkish van cats.
You start in your teens writing, right? When
Oh, no,
when
no,
did you...
I started writing musicals when I was about 7 or 8 years old. That's
7 or 8?
Yeah, I mean, I built myself a little toy theatre and I staged musicals, which I got my brother to help sing, and we got bored parents, friends around, and I had a wonderful theatrical aunt called Vi, and she brought people round, and I did my terrible, terrible little musicals. And when I got to a sort of big school, when I was about 12, well then I actually managed to get 1 or 2 of them staged.
Can I pour you some tea?
Well, if you like.
Is that all right?
It's really me who should be pouring
Well,
the
it's
tea,
closer to
but
me, so it's all right.
there you go. I suppose it is sort of almost tea time.
It is almost tea time. Why not? Do you take milk or sugar?
I'm going to have a little bit of milk. Would you
Please.
like a little
Yes,
bit of milk?
please. Thank you. Splash.
There we go.
Thank you, sir. Andrew Lloyd Webber, what's your drink?
Well, do you know what? I gave up wine about 3 years ago. I used to love my wine, so it's not that. Do you know what I really like now is apple juice.
Apple juice.
Yes.
We could have had apple juice.
We could have had apple juice.
But we thought this would be more cozy.
I grow it at home now.
You
and
do?
It's really lovely.
You have apple trees
Yes. At
on
home
your
in the
property, and then
country.
you crush them to juice.
Yes, it's turned into juice.
That's impressive.
I'm sort of a tea drinker, but I'm a sort of coffee drinker as well. I shouldn't really be. But
I didn't
tea-
think English people were allowed to be coffee
tea,
drinkers.
No, we do, you see. We're part of Europe, no matter what anybody says.
You write in the memoir, you are lucky if you know what you want to do in life. You're incredibly lucky if you're able to make a career of that. Are you incredibly lucky?
I'm incredibly lucky, which is what I say, and I'm incredibly lucky that it's in musical theatre. And do you know what I'm incredibly lucky about as well, is that I'm still writing away, and I'm writing at a time when musical theatre, particularly in America, is having a golden period again.
It really
And
is.
It really is exciting, and I mean, I'm part of the sort of community. I feel, even though I'm a Brit, that I'm perhaps an immigrant after these 50 years I've been around.
America has adopted you,
and,
for sure.
You know, I sort of feel, everywhere I go at the moment, that it's like there's a new energy on Broadway that I'm just thrilled to be a part of.
You're happy with that, because some have wondered about the direction Broadway's going.
I think you've got a generation of young writers who are not afraid now of writing what they want, and they don't feel they have to write necessarily to please critics. It's great.
You grew up in England in a musical family, right? Your father was a composer. What were you listening to as a kid? Was there a moment that you knew, this is what I'm going to do?
There was a moment where I thought I knew what I was going to do, and I sort of wavered a little bit from it because I have another interest, which is architecture and art and history. And
Yeah, another thing people don't know about you, that you're obsessed with architecture.
That I thought maybe that's the direction I was going to go, but only when I had a little bit of a wobble. I knew very, very early on that I was going to go into, I think, some form of writing music, and I think very early on for the theatre too, because I was just hooked on theatre when I was very small.
What did you listen to?
Well, I listened to all sorts of music. My father, as well as being a composer, was the director of composition at the Royal College of Music, and therefore he was very much involved with music of all sorts. And he was very, very open in his tastes. I mean, I fell in love because, you know, like all kids, I heard the pop and rock songs of the time, you know, and I really saw no real barriers in music because my family was very open about that. I had, obviously, what you might call classical music around me all the time, but equally so, they were never going to stop me bringing in my own, you know, things, or listening to the radio or whatever.
Did you write Jesus Christ Superstar on the back of a napkin or a song from it?
Oh, the main theme, I was walking along the street and I was outside a restaurant in Fulham in West London, and I thought of the tune before and forgotten it, and then this time I thought, I can't forget it. I've got it again in my head, I'm going to write it down. And I popped to the restaurant and said, can I have a napkin, please, paper napkin? And I just took out a pencil and put it, so I had it.
Yeah, so that you wouldn't lose the tune.
Yeah, because I was worried that I'd forgotten it once before. It was only 2 days before though.
Is that how you do it? Do you find the key tune or the one piece that's going to be the centerpiece of a musical first?
No,
or what's your process?
There's no golden rule. What you do have to do is to start every time, really, with the story. I mean, that's the normal rule. And with me, I like to find the story and then map out, either on my own or with a writer at that point, how the story might go. And that's the moment where you find where songs can go. I often write melodies which I have in isolation, but I never use them unless I think they're right for the dramatic situation. The story, in my case, is absolutely vital. And I think sometimes when a musical perhaps isn't quite right, and I've had ones which haven't quite worked, that normally when you look into it, the story's got something to do with it. Why School of Rock works is because the story is a very simple, primal, simple tale, with a beginning, middle and an end. And that's what you have to look for.
You've taken risks in your career. There've been, right?
Yes.
Fair to say you write about Cats, you write about Phantom, which is in this theatre.
Risk is one of the things that is, in some senses, the most scary. Oh gosh, it can be scary, but it's the most enjoyable.
The most enjoyable.
I mean, looking back on it, I mean, it's a miracle that Cats ever got near a stage, and it so nearly didn't. It so nearly even got
I don't think people know that.
Well, if you really think about it, at the time when it was done, it was certainly in Britain, and I think here also, it was really quite unusual. It was revolutionary,
edgy.
In fact.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that we could make people believe that human beings were cats. The initial reviews of it in London actually were really very good, but it then, I mean, it just took off. But it was up to that time, we simply didn't know what we had. We simply didn't know the moment that one of our actors came on the stage dressed as a cat would be a moment where everybody howled with laughter, or what in fact happened was everybody was completely blown apart actually by that first preview. It was a very, very odd night.
Is it true that your father heard, it was Memory, I think, right? Your father heard Memory, heard the melody of it?
I took Memory to my father, so I said, I'm going to play it to you and I want you to tell me what it sounds like. And when I finished it, he said, play it again. So I thought, well, Dad thinks it is like something. So I said, Dad, what do you think it sounds like? And he said, do you know what? It sounds like $10 million.
He was right.
Well, he was right, yes.
Musicals are getting this sort of second life right now on television. Yours is about to be, Jesus Christ Superstar is about to be on NBC.
Yes, indeed.
Do you feel that...
What's exciting is it's live. I mean, if you're talking about Netflix series, they're great. There are some fabulous ones, but they're not live. The thing about the NBC Superstar is you're going to watch it and anything can happen. I mean, it could be an absolute disaster. And
well, I hope not, for your sake.
No, I hope not for my sake, but that's kind of half the thrill of it. And the fact that it is a live production. What's great when you come to the theatre is that the night you come and see it, that performance is for you and the other members of the audience only. And of course, it's not quite the same on television, but it is very different
that
when
intimacy
it's live.
in a way. Yeah.
I love doing live television, and I've done various shows back in Britain where it's been live, and there's nothing quite like it. There's sort of the adrenaline when you know you're going on air. And I can just feel that already with what's going to happen with Superstar. Just that moment where, it's 30 seconds to go and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's kind of wonderful.
This theater, this is where Phantom is every night and has been the longest running show on Broadway. You, I've heard, bought a secondhand copy of the book, the novel Phantom, for 50 cents.
50 cents, not very far away from here in Fifth Avenue.
Best investment you ever made?
Well, it wasn't a bad one. I looked at the book with interest and bought it and read it and thought there is a very definite story here I could do.
How do you know what's going to make a good
You don't
story
know, you've got
for
an
musical?
instinct. One of the most important things in musical theatre that you have to learn, and I've made mistakes like this many times before, but the thing you have to learn is that a great story is the vital ingredient. One thing about the Phantom of the Opera is the way that it's fashioned here is it's a very, very strong story.
Right.
School of Rock, strong story. And of course, the story of Jesus and the last few days of his life is an extraordinary story. A great story, I think, can carry an okay score, but I don't think a great score can survive a not very good story.
Tell me about your foundation. You've started a foundation years
Some
ago.
years
You're
ago,
doing
yes.
a lot of good work.
Yes, I think one of the things I feel most passionately about, and I think that's probably what drew me to the idea of doing School of Rock, is the importance of music in education. I know here that very unfortunately music seems to be dropping out of the curriculum for a lot of schools, and therefore it's becoming now almost the preserve of the privileged, and it seems to be entirely wrong. The thing about music is that it crosses all forms of barriers, race, creed, religion, anything you like, and it empowers kids. It's not about kids necessarily becoming stars or musicians or performers. It's what music can do for people's behavior. It's what people can do to liberate them, to find themselves. It's also about the really important thing is that it also teaches you to understand other disciplines like maths. You know, it is crazy. And so what I hope to do with my foundation is to keep music in schools. I can only do a little bit. We've got 6,000 kids in London now who get a free music lesson each week, and they get a free musical instrument when they arrive at school.
Well, as a parent, I thank you.
Well,
I think it's important.
I think I think everybody who's been lucky as I have, and, you know, to have a career in musical theatre, I think we owe it to give something back and give it to the generation that's coming up. And that's why it comes back to why it's so thrilling here on Broadway to see so many young composers and writers coming through.
Yeah. You're a perfectionist, you say.
Very much so.
Do you ever sit in the audience, watch a show of yours and say, oh, that's not right, I've got to fix that?
It's wonderful when I don't. I've had that experience. You know, it's very rare. The trouble with me is that I'll come to Phantom of the Opera here and then I'll come away with an army of notes. But that's because
I'm sure they love that.
But that's because theatre's live,
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
you're always going to have variations in performance.
From night to night, there are going to be
And sometimes
variations.
what is thrilling is when somebody brings something completely new to it that nobody else has thought of.
That you hadn't thought of.
No, I haven't thought of.
For the young people out there, what's been the biggest obstacle?
What's the biggest obstacle for me? Well, my life has been pretty charmed because by mistake with the album of Jesus Christ Superstar, we had a very big success with it here. I think I'd like to put it another way. What's the best way for, say, a young writer to get their work, you know, heard? And I think it's exactly that, to get it heard, get it performed. That's the most important thing, because everybody is always looking for something new. And it's astonishing how, if you get your work performed, even if it takes 3 or 4 goes, people will find it. Get your work performed. Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter when, doesn't matter how. Just get it performed, and in time, it will be noticed.
Andrew, thank you so much for having a little tea with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much,
Thank
and a
you.
lovely cup it was.